workers.
Joining us now to talk about how you should react through all of this volatility, Craig Bolanos, CEO of Wealth Management Group. Thanks for being with us.
Absolutely. Great to be here. Day 33.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, right?
So what does this mean to the average? I mean, obviously the people working in these jobs most impacted. What should they most immediately be worried about? Should they be setting stuff aside or doing something in the interim here with the money they've got?
Right. Well, we're talking about, you're referring to all the government workers that have been furloughed, right? And I think at the end of the day, what I want everyone to recognize is we can learn something from what happened, which is we always have to have a plan B. And if you think about those government workers that were furloughed, if they didn't have an emergency fund, they have a huge hill to climb. So what I want all of our listening audience to take away from this is this could happen to us too. Not in the sense of a furlough, but a temporary introduction in our work. And we too have a responsibility to ourselves and our family to create those emergency funds.
What's your recommended for that kind of emergency fund? Should you have the goal to set aside a couple of weeks funds, a couple of months? Longer?
Well, you know what, we always hear you have to have 3 to 6 months worth of money. That's a daunting task for everybody though, isn't it? So what I like to think about is let's start really simple, which is let's get $1,000 of actual cash put away. Then once that's done, let's work to getting 1, 2, 3 months of money in an emergency account. But that emergency account has to, figuratively speaking, be behind a pane of glass that says what? Do not break in case of emergency. It's not to pay the pizza delivery guy on Super Bowl Sunday. It's in case of a job interruption.
What about college students that are affected by these loans? Some of their loans might be affected by this furlough.
Oh my heavens, I'm so happy you asked, because it's not just about government workers. This is about us, you and I, the everyday. And you think of the college student, what's the biggest barrier to for people? It's money. It's so overtly expensive. And there's so many students that are just now starting to fill out that free application for federal student aid. Sure, it was open in October, but a lot of people don't get started until January or February. And what they're running into is some students aren't going to have the information that they need. Some students need to access from the Internal Revenue Service certain tax returns. They need to get validation of certain income. And if they can't do that, then they can't interact well with the schools right now to decide if the schools are affordable. And that puts stresses on students and their parents making big decisions.
What about your investments? The average person has money in the stock market. Do you do anything with it during a time like this?
You know what? It's interesting. The stock market's been doing very well since the government shutdown. And how ironic is that? I mean, think about red October, low November, disastrous December, yet the stock market started coming back on the 26th. And here's what I think about. Near term, obviously it's not a big deal. Intermediate to long term, it's not about shutdowns. Shutdowns happen all the time. It's about the duration of the shutdown. And the risk we run is a risk similar to one we had in 2011, where the government failed to coalesce. They failed to legislate, and what happened? The U.S. got downgraded from what I call AAA roast beef to AA. That's not good. Now, there's not a lot of talk of that happening right now, but that's a risk that's out there for investors.
What about tax returns? Is there any risk that people might not get their tax returns here in the next couple months?
I breathed a sigh of relief. Tax refunds, they're still coming. Now, in other government shutdowns, that hasn't been the case, but there was one thing that came out very quickly, is that tax refunds are still going to get processed. So that's good. In fact, a lot of the basic services, I had this conversation with my kids. I remember going shopping at the end of the year, and they started directing traffic, and they go, oh, the government shutdown doesn't affect policemen. And I go, no, those that are here to protect us, those that are essential services, that stuff's going to keep on happening.
And there's a lot of free stuff out there. Last question, if you are furloughed, that you can get during this time. It's kind of an upside if there is one.
Yeah, you know, it's a small upside, and I think we can apply that to everybody, not just furloughed workers. The most powerful words in the human language are, can you help me? Right? I mean, I think everyone's a good person, but for those that are furloughed in particular, absolutely. There is free transportation. You've got free things that are up there on Airbnb. You've got all sorts of food services, and in fact, for government workers too, before they borrow on credit cards, before they borrow from their thrift savings plan, there are 0% interest loans available through a varietal of credit unions that I really want to encourage people to utilize during this time of down payment.
And if people want to find out where those are, can they go to you for more information?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep, contact us. Go on out to our website, investwithwmg.com, and we'll help them navigate.
All right,
I think we
Craig.
have that information as well here. There, Craig Bolanos, Wealth Management Group, Inverness.
Thanks,
Always
Craig.
Good to see
Good
you.
to see you
Great
again.
house.
Absolutely good to see you.